All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth with Ben Jokes. Now, there is so much confusion and fear in Nigeria as we speak. Many Nigerians, mostly those living in vulnerable areas, are in constant fear of their lives because of widespread killings by bandits and Fulani headsmen, gunmen, call it whatever. Business owners who are still hanging around are in perpetual fear because most of them are just inches away from going out of business. Just one more increase in fuel price, VAT, import duties, or electricity tariff, and they will be out of business. Most Nigerians are basically living on the edge right now, and the government of the day clearly has no solution to these problems because, to start with, they never came in with the intention of making this country better. Someone just thought he was next in the hierarchy of old men who should be in Aso Rock, and here we are. Hours ago, United Nations, in conjunction with some other bodies, came up with a very terrible projection of what next year portends for Nigeria. And some Nigerians think the report did not even say everything. They felt the report was mild and watered down. But even this watered down version is very scary. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to that report, a very devastating, embarrassing, and disgraceful event came out of the TINUBU camp. And if there are those who still believe that TINUBU can turn things around, after seeing this, they will give up on this regime. Before I show you details of that 2025 projection by the United Nations and co, and details of that disgraceful event coming from the TINUBU camp, let me quickly show you these videos. The first video here is an interview with former Benue State Governor Gabriel Suswam. The APC have always given the impression that it was Obasanjo that destroyed the power sector. But Suswam in this interview revealed that Obasanjo even tried. It was the poor maintenance culture of others, especially the APC, that made the collapse of national grid a household phrase. Let's watch this interview.
It's unfortunate that we're not being proactive. The only president who actually took some proactive step was President Obasanjo. When he came in, generation at that time was in the neighborhood of 2,000-3,000, highest 4,000. And he decided that he was going to build 10 thermal plants. Those are plants using gas as source of energy. 10 thermal plants. He built all of them within the South-South region so as to enhance the generation capacity of this country. And generation capacity was enhanced to up to 13,000 megawatts. Now, he went ahead and initiated the idea of making sure that these thermal plants had the buy-in of all governors and local governments. All of us, I was then governor when he left. Yaradua came in. Yaradua continued. He called all of us to a round table and said, look, you need to contribute so that we can enhance power generation and transmission and distribution in this country so that the country can pick up in terms of the area of industrialization. We contributed, and then majority of these thermal power plants, 10 of them, were completed. And that is why now you will hear that Nigeria has the generating capacity of 13,000 megawatts. The unfortunate thing is this, that the transmission lines, the grid, what people call national grid, has been in place for over 40 years. Lack of maintenance, dilapidating and aging infrastructure. What is causing the national grid now has a lot of factors that are leading to that. Aging, dilapidating infrastructure of transmission and distribution. Now, when Buhari came in, he noticed this, and his then late chief of staff, may his soul rest in peace, Kari, now engineered the partnership with Siemens of Germany, for them to intervene in transmission and distribution. That was ongoing. When the man died, monies were paid. The Germans came here. The president himself went to Germany, signed those agreements with the German government, and that's picked off. in order for us to stop what we're now witnessing now, this grid collapse. Because, like I said, those grid, the transmission lines, are the ones that are as old as 40 years. And you know our maintenance culture is very bad. And so with that, there's no way that we can continue with this until there is an urgent and emergency intervention in the power sector. Otherwise, this grid will be collapsing every day.
You saw that. That was former governor of Benue State, Gabriel Suswam, speaking there. And it was while making this video that it just occurred to me that I knew nothing like national grid, let alone national grid collapse, until the APC came into power. I was born in this country, I've been living in this country, and I began hearing the phrase national grid collapse under Buhari. Not that it never collapsed before him, but the occurrence was so rare that it probably didn't even make the news. And now it has collapsed 11 times just this year under TINUBU. I can't believe that in just 18 months, TINUBU has dethroned Buhari as the worst ever occupant of Aso Rock. This is such a shame. The next video here is that of a protest from the FCT. Nyesom Wike, after losing his reputation in Rivers State, has now moved to grabbing people's lands in the FCT. In this video, some Gbagis, those are the original indigenes of the FCT, some Gbagis are seen protesting after Wike demolished their houses with a plan to grab their ancestral lands. See the video.
Whether they are dismayed and they are worried that this time the effort to grab this land is more brazen and is more unrelenting. So just like we have said earlier during our opener, that we are appealing to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, prevail on the FCT minister to leave poor people's land from them. That poor people's land belong to poor people. That if they badly need land to grab, and they should go to Asokoro, they should go to the Tama extension, they should go to Guzapen Main and Guzapen New, they should go to Guzapen. There are so many places to grab land. Why we look up to airport road to grab land from the poor so that you can give it to the rich, that it will increase insecurity in the country.
Yes, so
that the thousands of people go everywhere for them. Not just that, in this very hard economy, with the price of dollar, with the price of foodstuff, and you do not even create a place for them to stay. It is craziness, wickedness, and it is not fair. Because this act, because a very great insecurity, terrorism, and a lot more things will come after this.
You saw that. Gbagis flying the Wike must go banners there. And I don't know why this man called Nyesom Wike has decided to make himself a thorn in the flesh of many Nigerians, throwing people out of their houses for no reason. And this has been the practice of all the FCT ministers under the APC. They don't improve the city in any way. They just go about targeting vulnerable residents of the city and throwing them out of their lands, grabbing their properties. And for me, there is no point appealing to TINUBU to intervene, because history shows that TINUBU himself is a land grabber. How did he become the self-acclaimed biggest landlord in Africa? It was through land grabbing. So he is fully aware and in support of what Wike is doing. The indigenes can only keep their lands if they all come out, whether they grabbed your own land or not. Let all the Gbagi, the indigenes of FCT, come out and flood the streets of National Assembly in massive protest involving their senators. That's the only way they can keep their lands. Point blank, period. Now, let us look at those two updates that have become the major talking points in the Nigerian political media space. First is that 2025 projection of Nigeria done by the United Nations and other bodies. And next is details of that disgraceful and embarrassing event coming out of TINUBU camp. Let's start by taking the update regarding that 2025 projection of Nigeria by UN and other bodies. Look at how the papers reported it. 33 million Nigerians to face food insecurity in 2025 report. A report by Keda Harmonies, led by the federal government and supported by partners including the United Nations World Food Programme, warned of deteriorating food security in Nigeria, with 33.1 million people projected to face high levels of food insecurity during the next lean season, June to August 2025. Analysis showed that the 33.1 million people represents an increase of 7 million people compared to the same period last year. The rise in the projection was driven by current economic hardship, record high inflation, climate change impacts, and persistent violence in the northeastern states. According to the reports, between October and December 2024, approximately 25.1 million people are likely to experience food insecurity even during the peak of the harvest season. Among them, 3.8 million live in the northeastern states, a figure projected to rise to 5 million by 2025. Nationally, the number of people facing emergency levels of food insecurity is also expected to increase. While no population has been classified as catastrophe, those in emergency are anticipated to rise from 1 million during the 2024 lean season to 1.8 million in 2025, marking an 80% increase. Now, many Nigerians looked at this figure and they said, these guys that did this thing with the United Nations for once decided to hide the truth, because they have always been honest, but this time around they decided to reduce the figures, because you and I know that this 33.1 million they are projecting in 2025 is even a far cry from the number of Nigerians that are hungry now. I understand that they have classified the types of hunger. They call some emergency, they call some catastrophe. The emergency, they say, is phase 4 hunger. Catastrophe is the highest, phase 5 hunger. They say nobody is in that class now in Nigeria. They are joking. There are so many Nigerians already in that catastrophe stage. What do you call catastrophe? When somebody from morning to night, no see food chop, went to bed, woke up, no hope of eating that day, and you are telling me that person is not already in catastrophe? If there is anything more than catastrophe, that's where that person is living. Many Nigerians are already at the emergency level, and they have even exceeded that emergency level. I believe that these guys just gave us these figures so that we can use our own tongue to count our teeth. But trust the TINUBU regime, nothing is going to be done. And just as Nigerians were yet reacting to that tragic report from the United Nations and co., the TINUBU camp responded with a shocking statement that shows that Nigerians are doomed. Saying that the country is collapsing, TINUBU paid the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria to organize 40 days national prayer and fasting to save the country. At first, the president of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, wanted to make it look like he declared the prayer and fasting out of love for Nigeria. But when he began to speak like TINUBU. He said that what Nigerians are going through now can be likened to pains of a woman in labor. As soon as he said that, everyone knew that the shameless man had been bribed by TINUBU, because he was reading straight out of TINUBU's textbook. So the master strategist has failed and has now turned to prayer and fasting. Look at how the papers reported it. PFN asks Nigerians to fast, pray for 40 days to avert hardship. The Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, has declared a 40-day period of prayer and fasting to seek divine intervention against the economic hardship affecting the country. Making the declaration while briefing journalists in Abuja on Thursday, the PFN National President, Francis Waleoke, said the exercise is aimed at seeking relief and prosperity from God to overcome the challenges. According to Mr. Oke, the prayer and fasting, which begins on January 6, 2025, will culminate in the Christian body's 18th biennial conference scheduled for February 10 to 14 in Abuja. He added that during the conference themed The Rebirth of a Great Nation, Nigeria is Great, a national prayer gathering will also be held on February 14. Mr. Oke said, this period of prayer and fasting is a key aspect of our biennial conference. We believe God will answer our prayers. Nigeria's challenges are our collective responsibility, not just that of the leaders, but also of the citizens. Together, through cooperation and commitment, we can bring Nigeria out of hardship. Our part is to pray, educate, and support efforts at every level. In the Bible, when judgment was pronounced on Nineveh, the king and the people cried out for mercy, and God heard their prayers. We believe that the same God who delivered Nineveh is alive today and will hear our cry. The cleric who likened the country's present situation to the pains experienced by a mother in labor said the body believes that a new Nigeria will emerge. He said Pentecostal churches, Christians, and Nigerians are currently being mobilized to participate in the exercise to revive the nation. And look at how Nigerians reacted. Let's take some of the tweet reactions. Fortis here says, this is very offensive. I'm beginning to think religion should be banned in Nigeria. And Oluwakemi Aluko says, if religion is banned, how will the politicians be able to mobilize gullible supporters again? Abeg, make we dey enjoy our bulaba, dey go. And Idris Dada here says, imagine business personnel telling you to fast when it is obvious and certain they won't fast. Get the will to do the right thing and fix Nigeria. Prayer can't move mountains. Only hard work alone does. And Adeyemi Abiodun here says, àwọn aṣiwèrè, olórí burúkú trying to deceive people. He said mad people that are cursed trying to deceive Nigerians. And Uche Oji here says, why do you need to pray for something unbelievers like China, India, Singapore, Vietnam, etc. are getting through hard work, innovation, and productivity? Religious idiots just to deceive gullible people. Prayer is still paying Promax economic growth policy. Sick criminals. They are actually sick. And Johnson here says, we are already on fast, sir. Since last year, after subsidy removal, hardly you can see average families, which form the majority of the population, that eat 3 square meals daily. It's extremely difficult to find families comfortably eating 3 square meals in Nigeria right now. And the UN has said in the report that I just shared that the situation is going to be worse next year. And this is how the TINUBU regime is responding. You know, it's funny that these two updates are dropping at the same time. UN dropping that report telling us that food insecurity is going to be extremely massive next year. It's going to be totally worse than what we have right now. And the government is dropping an update where Nigerians are being urged to pray for and fast for 40 days for the country. The two dropping at the same time. It's just an awesome coincidence to let Nigerians know that they are on their own. If there is anybody who still thinks that this administration can turn things around, I think on seeing this, your mind should change. And of course, in 2023, it was predicted that the kind of hunger we have in 2024 now was going to be. And that prediction came to pass. We are seeing what is happening in Nigeria now. So if they are telling us that it is going to be worse next year, of course you should know that it will come to pass. And I'm sure of one thing. If I'm not sure of anything, I'm sure of this one. The government will not do anything to avert this prophecy by the UN, to avert this submission and this projection by the UN. A government that can gather people in a hall to hold a conference on how to stop open defecation. That you want to stop open defecation, and what you are doing is to gather people and hold a conference. Every challenge that presents itself, they see it as an opportunity to steal money. The highest thing you hear about this projection by the United Nations now is that they want to give some people fertilizers. They want to do some, programs on farming. Everything now, farm. They are just looking for ways to steal money because they have come to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I'm not surprised. This is the APC. This is what they stand for. It is Nigerians that I am talking to. It is Nigerians that should lend me their ears. All these things that are happening in this country can easily be dealt with if we can unite as a people. This country has so much. The country is still redeemable. There's still so much left to fight for. If we have the right people in office, if Nigerians can unite and put the right people in office, give this country 365 days, you will be shocked at the amazing transformation that we will see. But as far as we continue under the APC, we will be moving from one level of decay, one level of rot to another until the country will completely capitulate. But I urge Nigerians to cast their sentiments aside, come together, unite, and take their country back. But until then, make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una na I dey here, so don't go away. Don't go.